Thank you for taking the time to watch my video. All the content I made is just speculation and personal sharing. If you find the video interesting and useful, please support me with a like and leave a comment. Beyond the Gates with Full of Contradictions on September 23, 2025, Derek is still sitting in a wheelchair like a warrior wearing an armor of fake weakness, a perfect camouflage to make all eyes turn to him with pity, sympathy, and sometimes a sense of responsibility from his relatives. For Ashley, the belief that the man she loves will forever live in the shadow of disability is both a pain and a bond that keeps her from ever leaving him. She sees Derek as a part of her life, someone who needs her care and protection. But behind his tired eyes, behind his resigned smile, Derek was hiding a dark secret. He could stand up, could walk, could shake off the wheelchair at any moment. A miracle had given him back his legs, but he decided to use that as a final card in the psychological game he played with everyone around him. Shanice was not easily fooled. She always saw through the fog created by others, and Derek was no exception. The way he moved his legs unconsciously in his sleep, or the tense look in his eyes when Shanice entered the room unexpectedly, gave everything away. But instead of screaming to expose it, Shanice chose to remain silent. For her, Derek's secret was not only a terrible truth, but also an opportunity, a chance to observe him, to test his honesty, and to hold in her hands something that could change the balance of power. She knew that if Ashley found out, Derek's world would collapse immediately, and the fragile trust Ashley had in him would turn into a raging fire that would burn everything down. But Shanice was in no hurry. She was silent, quietly watching, like a hunter waiting for his prey, waiting for the perfect moment to strike the decisive blow. Meanwhile, Jacob accidentally stumbled upon the pieces that Derek had tried to bury. A step without a cane, a strange scratch on the wall so high that only someone standing with their arms outstretched could create it, or simply the fleeting moment when Derek stood up without knowing anyone was watching. Jacob was not someone who could easily ignore the unusual. His instincts told him that behind that fake weakness was a secret that could tear any relationship apart. But Jacob was in no hurry to go public. He considered, calculating between confronting Derek directly or waiting until everything was ripe. Maybe he chose to stay silent so that later he could turn the truth into a weapon, pushing Derek into a corner. Or maybe he was planning to test Derek, to force him to confess before things got out of hand. For Derek, his motive was more than just deception. The wheelchair had become a shield to help him control Ashley, to keep her by his side, unable to turn away. Deep down, he feared that if Ashley knew he had recovered, she would no longer be bound by pity, and that love might collapse when faced with harsh reality. Or maybe he was nurturing a dramatic plan, waiting for the day of the engagement to stand up before everyone's astonishment, turn himself into a symbol of resurrection and receive Ashley's eternal embrace. But whatever the motive, Derek was betting his life, because the longer the truth was hidden, the more intense the shock when it was revealed. When that day came, Ashley would not see a miracle, but only betrayal. She will realize that she has been used, that every tear, every sleepless night, every pain she bears for Derek is just part of the game he has set up. That feeling of betrayal can push her into the abyss, turning love into hate, turning trust into deep cuts. And Derek, in the moment of what seems like victory, may lose everything. Shanice continues to observe, Jacob continues to consider, Derek continues to delve deeper into the dangerous game. 3 people, 3 intertwined secrets, and a truth bomb counting down the days. When it explodes, no one will escape the storm of anger, betrayal, and pain. And Ashley, who seems the weakest, may be the one to rebel the most fiercely. When love turns into cruel deception in Smitty's world, the seemingly small cracks are gradually widening into a chasm that is difficult to fill. Martin, with his controlling nature and belief that he knows Samantha better than anyone, has inadvertently crossed the thin line between support and interference. Samantha just wants to confide, find a place to vent her hidden feelings for Nathan, but instead of just listening and keeping it to herself, Martin takes it upon himself to resolve the issue in the way he thinks best. He encouraged, he guided, he even made decisions for Samantha, turning her into a pawn in his own plans. Martin's support, when it went beyond its limits, became a smoldering fire that burned the fragile balance in the family. Smitty, who had long shouldered the responsibility of being a nurturing and protective mother to Samantha, could not help but feel pushed aside. He was the one who listened to her every step of growing up, understood her every fear, and was always there when Samantha felt lost. But now, everything he did seemed invisible, because Martin had stepped in and taken that role without any discussion, without any respect for the place Smitty had in Samantha's heart. For him, it was not just a lack of consideration, but a wound in his heart. He felt slighted, abandoned, and deprived of the right to have a say in the life of the child he had raised with all his heart. That Smitty's anger didn't explode immediately, but it swirled inside like a storm waiting to rage. Was he angry that Samantha had trusted Martin more than him? Or was he angry that Martin had, without discussion, blatantly placed himself in the most important role that he should have had? The answer lay not just in jealousy or pride, but in a deep sense of loss, a feeling that the whole world had turned its back on him, including the person he had always loved unconditionally. Samantha was now caught in a dilemma. She loved them both, but her choice, whether intentional or not, could turn into a knife that cut deep into the heart of one of the two most important men in her life. If she leaned toward Martin, she would lose Smitty's trust. If she tried to appease Smitty, she would inadvertently deny what Martin had done with good intentions. She is caught between love and duty, between gratitude and love, and between the sweetness of a secret with Nathan and the hidden anger that is still burning. Martin may think he is helping Samantha, but in Smitty's eyes, he has trampled on the sacred bond between him and the child he is bonded with. This wound cannot be healed by a few apologies or gestures of reconciliation. It requires genuine acknowledgement, requires Samantha to face and affirm Smitty's place in her life. Otherwise, the wound will continue to widen, becoming a chasm that cannot be mended. So what will Samantha do? Will she have the strength to stand up, to quell the undercurrent in the family by setting clear boundaries between Martin and Smitty, or will she be swept away in a spiral of anger and misunderstanding? Can she heal Smitty's wounded heart with sincere recognition, or will every effort only make the wound bleed more? In this conflicted picture, only one thing is certain. If Samantha does not find a way to mend it soon, this rift will become a permanent one, burying all love under the ashes of betrayal and anger. Joey always knows how to choose allies for his dark plans, and this time he sat with Marcel, a combination that anyone with the slightest intelligence would shudder to think of. Marcel never entered a game without blood and darkness, and Joey was no stranger to turning others into sacrificial pawns. When the two shook hands, the air immediately smelled of danger, as if the surrounding walls could hear a death sentence being written in silence. Doug, in his blind hatred, had unwittingly misplaced his trust, seeking Bill to find a way to take Joey down, not knowing that Bill had long been his loyal extension. One wrong move, and Doug is now a juicy target for Joey, turning into a bloody lesson for all who dare challenge him. The plan to deal with Doug is more than just removing a thorn in his side. Joey wants more. He wants Doug's disappearance to be symbolic, a cold and unmistakable message that anyone who attempts to oppose him will not only fail, but be erased without a trace. With Marcel sitting opposite him, he has found someone ruthless enough to do the job without flinching, and quiet enough to never leave evidence. Doug's disappearance will not just be a death, but a rift that shakes the community, sowing fear and making any remaining rebels bow. Doug can feel the trap closing, but he is blind to the extent of it. His misplaced trust in Bill has led him to hand over the key that leads straight to Joey's trap. Little did he know that the Bill-Joey alliance had been going on all along, that every promise of help was just a ruse to drag him closer to the edge. Doug thought he was flipping cards, but he was actually entering a casino where all the cards were marked, and he was the only one sitting blindfolded. Marcel, meanwhile, relished every moment. For him, Doug's downfall was not just a job, but a testament to his cold strength at Joey's side. Every move, every arrangement was calculated to not only eliminate an enemy but also strengthen the bond between him and Joey. A bond that, if known to the community, would strike fear into everyone's hearts because the real power was no longer in the hands of the law, but in the hands of those sitting in this shady bar. Vanessa, if she discovered the truth, would become an unpredictable fuse. She could remain silent out of fear, choosing to hide to protect herself, or she could report it, lighting a fire that would burn down the entire lie Joey and Marcel had created. But Vanessa knew better than anyone that a report meant putting her life on the line. The question isn't whether she knows, but whether she has the courage to make her fear a reality, or will Doug's disappearance become one of the countless nameless ghosts this community has buried over the years? If Doug disappears, the silence will echo louder than gunshots, exposing Joey and Marcel's dirty alliance to those sharp enough to see. But the truth is unlikely to be called by anyone. Death, or mysterious disappearance, sometimes not only takes a life but also buries justice, leaving a void filled with fear and darkness. And it is in that void that Joey and Marcel will continue to thrive until another daredevil dares to challenge it. Derek sits in the darkness, his hands clenched into fists, his strong legs hidden under the blanket as a testament to the lie he clings to. He knew Shanice had seen through it, knew Jacob was suspicious, but he remained silent because the wheelchair was the only weapon he had to keep Ashley tied down. Elsewhere, Samantha was caught in the vortex of Martin and Smitty, two men she both loved but now on opposite sides, fighting for a role in her life. Martin believed his control was love. Smitty felt betrayed and cast aside, and Samantha was caught between two fires of anger. Meanwhile, Joey and Marcel whispered their plans, deciding Doug's fate as if he were just a chess piece, a living warning to anyone who dared to challenge them. Secrets, betrayals, and pent-up anger from three different worlds seemed poised to collide. If Derek is exposed, Ashley will not only lose her faith, but also find herself a victim in a cruel game, and that collapse could push her into the arms of someone else, or even make her easy prey for people like Joey and Marcel looking to expand their power. If Samantha doesn't find a way to calm things down soon, the war between Martin and Smitty could tear the small family apart, leaving her at the root of a bottomless pit. And if Doug disappears in silence, his death will ring like a death knell, setting off a chain reaction that no one can control. Point 3. Seemingly separate streams are now slowly converging, like underground rivers meeting in the dark, ready to burst into a raging flood. Each character stands on the threshold of truth and betrayal, cornered by their own choices. As secrets are exposed, love, loyalty, and even life can disappear in the blink of an eye. And the most terrible thing is not the truth being exposed, but the violent, unpredictable reaction of hearts that have been suppressed in the dark for too long.